And good morning, everyone. Today is the 12th of June, 2018. Man, it's amazing. This year is just flying right past us. So, here we are. I want to congratulate, before I say much of anything else, congratulate President Trump on his very successful summit meeting with North Korea's chairman, Kim Jong-un. That was not only historic, as you can tell from the title of this video, it was courageous. Not only because he was able to pull it off and meet with Kim, but also because he basically defied the deep state, the military, intelligence, security, and I'm going to say it also the way President Eisenhower said it, Congressional complex. And he went against the New World Order by doing that because it upsets their ability to control things. And he's brought some danger on himself, not that he hasn't done that all along, but now even more so. Of course, that was actually a move against China, which is the darling of the New World Order. And we were afraid about war there for a long time. We're still not out of the park on that one, but this is certainly a very, very, very big step considering where we were just a few months ago. However, it's really important that he goes and he meets President Putin. And if you think that if President Trump received a lot of grief and difficulty over this meeting with Chairman Kim, imagine the horrible things that they're going to do, the deep state, the New World Order, the military-industrial security, intelligence, congressional complex, and all those, to try to stop him from meeting with President Putin, which will be even more of a game changer because Russia is not our enemy. It's a contrived enemy. And they need that contrived enemy to continue with their Anglo-American New World Order domination. Hello everyone, I'm Roy Potter. This is the live stream version of the Potter Expositor. I want to welcome you as you all come in. Let me make sure that the chat is working. I did turn it on. So yeah, it looks like it is. And actually Russia really isn't our threat. We're actually the ones that are aggressive against Russia, and the reason why they are reacting the way they are. This program isn't to be about that. I know somebody asked a question that, Russia's our real threat, not North Korea or China. No, that's a misunderstanding of the world political situation and how we got here in the first place and what's happening. So Russia is not our enemy, and I think President Trump knows that, and I think he's going to be moving towards that next. Probably not before the midterms, but he will do that. No, Russia is not our enemy. As a matter of fact, at the present point, as you've heard me say, they're a more righteous country than this one, and President Trump's working with a bunch of really demonic and disgusting people across our nation. And I see it every day. I'm not saying there aren't good people. There are a lot of good people here, just like they are everywhere in the world. But there are a lot of bad ones, too. And I think it's very likely that we have a more decadent, evil society than Russia does. And I'll stick to that. Okay. So you can see I named this the 4 C's: courage, cowardice, corruption, and criminality. And of course, we've talked about the courageous part already. What President Trump has done in his meeting with Chairman Kim was extremely courageous. But as we're watching events unfold here in the country, we know that there are really nasty, criminal, corrupt, and cowardly acts going on here in our institutions, in our highest levels of government. And it's truly, I mean, if people aren't awake to what's going on here with the FBI and the DOJ and all of that, and how close we have come to becoming a tyranny based upon the intelligence slash law enforcement agencies of this country and even intelligence agencies around the world, they just don't understand the dire circumstances that we're in, our truly awful situation. The real secret societies, you hear about them all the time, you know, and all of them have good parts and all of them have bad parts. There are good societies and there are bad. Well, unfortunately, the intelligence community in particular is now there. I'm not saying there aren't good people in there, but by and large, there are no good intelligence agencies. They're all counter to our Republican constitutional republic. And everything they're doing is proving that. And we're going to talk about that for a little bit. I'm going to keep these things out for just a few minutes. I don't want to go here yet, if at all. So let me come back to that. Today, Nunes, the chairman of the House committee there, is threatening. He may have already done it because it's 9 o'clock there. Threatened contempt of Congress charges against the DOJ and the FBI for their refusal to give them the documents. The DOJ and the FBI are not above their oversight committees. They are not a law unto themselves, and we've talked about this before, but it's a serious problem. And you know, it's always interesting because they'll tout, well, we need our independence so that we can make sure that everything is done right and the laws are enforced. But who watches the watchers? Who watches the enforcers? And then if they're not, then they become the tyrants. They become what they claim they're trying to prevent. And that's exactly what we've seen. And so it's a very, very dangerous situation with them. And it's really time, and I know how hard it is because I just said, you know, the military-industrial complex, I included the Congressional problem there as President Eisenhower originally did. There's a real problem there. There are so many criminals and so much corruption in Congress that they're trying to protect themselves too. But damn the people of the United States, they don't care about that. So, at any rate, Nunes is up against that. We saw the FBI agents yesterday. Everybody was waiting for this big thing there. And now they're saying, well, we don't want to testify unless we get immunity. Do you understand what they're telling you? I'm not saying they don't have a right to ask for immunity or to take the fifth or whatever. But these are the people that have been not just applying the laws, but twisting them and coming after you, the American people, and finding criminal intent in you when there is none, enforcing regulations to take away your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness through civil asset forfeiture and through civil application of their evil regulations. And the worst, of course, is the fact that they'll accuse you of doing what they themselves do. And we are not finding that the FBI or the DOJ or any of those have a higher standard of conduct like they should. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite. This should scare the hell out of everybody that we've let these people go this far. So they want immunity. So in other words, what they're afraid of, I'm not even saying they're bad guys, but they know. As I've said for a long time, the entire FBI is corrupt. If the head is corrupt, it goes all the way down. There are agents who have done things that know that they should not have done them according to their oath and the laws and the regulations, and they did them because they were told to, and we're just doing our job. So what they're telling you is that, yeah, they're going to enforce the law against you, but they don't want it enforced against them. Now, I'm not saying they don't have a right to do what they're doing. I'm just saying it shows the cowardice that's there in the ranks. It's not just in the upper echelons, the upper command structure. It's throughout the entire organization, and I've seen it for 30 years. It's distressing, but it's the way it is. And it's because we worship law enforcement and we worship the military, the two things that we need to keep under control as much as politicians, and we don't do it because Television has told us how incorruptible they are. Well, there have been some exceptions. Serpico, the movie about the New York detective. There have been a few things. But by and large, you turn on a TV at any point in time, and what do you see? Law enforcement and military are gods. They can't do any wrong. And that's not the case. As I've said before, and I kind of lump them together in this, they are a necessary evil. They should not be put up on a pedestal and worshipped. And since I've been in both of those, I'm certainly qualified to say that, and I will. No, they need to be controlled probably more so than the rest of the population. No, I'll make that an affirmative statement. They do need to be controlled more than the rest of the population. As a matter of fact, the Constitution is supposed to tie them down with chains, and the requirements on them are more than what is expected of the population. We got this all upside down. Another person the other day said, yeah, the master or the servants have become the masters. Yeah, and the masters have become the servants. They've switched it. And we should never have allowed that happen, but we were asleep. It's been going on for a long time. I look at the prohibition of the 30s and how bad that was. And isn't that interesting? They needed a constitutional amendment to enforce, prohibition, but nothing else. Now it's an act of Congress, and it can be totally unconstitutional, and they go with it. I hope that President Trump can at least start down the road to straighten a lot of these things out. But as I've said before, the people of the United States apparently aren't worthy of the type of example that President Trump is giving us. Now, I've been hard on him. I have. But that's a necessary thing in our constitutional republic. As I said, when he does something great, boy, I'm going to praise him up and down. When he does something that I don't think is right, I'm going to say something about it. And that's just the way it is. And if we aren't willing to do that, we're not intellectually honest, and we're not true Americans. Bottom line. Okay. It's just amazing to me what's going on here. Newness, yeah. Okay, so basically I've covered most of the political situation that's around today. And I'm not even sure I want to get into this other subject, but some things are really troubling about all of this. And I suppose we need to at least touch on it. As always, I'm going to try not to make this a long presentation this morning, but of course that always gets out of hand. There's been an alliance now between the Q cult and its extremists who, while things need, because I quoted the thing the other day where extremism in the defense of virtue and the Bill of Rights and all that is no vice, and that's true. But we really have people that have gone too far. Now, the Q people constantly have excuses for why their predictions don't come true, but are lavishing all over themselves when things do occur. And I'm going to tell you this whether you want it or not, okay? Those are gamblers' attitudes. That's how a gambler is. He always tells you when he wins. He never tells you when he loses. And I've talked about this before. I don't care if you follow Q, because I look at the New York Times and all that other stuff, but you have to use discernment and you have to use many sources. And when you start following one, then they start becoming dictatorial over you and dogmatic, and that's exactly what's happened. Watch who you follow. Don't do this. Don't do that. Fall in line with the rest of which is really where we go one, we go all crap comes from. In other words, suspend your independent thinking. And I could go on and on. It's all there. The whole thing about mind control and crowd control and manipulation, it's all there. Just like in any institution, particularly the religious ones, because it's become a form of a religion. And I'm not going to go down that road, but It's all there. All the evidence is there. So we have that. Then we have the situation where there are people that group is supporting in making accusations without enough evidence to act. Now, I'm not saying that making people aware of the problems in our society, especially human and child trafficking and those things, that isn't important, because it is, but it's how you go about it. Like I said, I didn't even want to go here, but I almost have to. Because I'm afraid that this thing is going to get worse. I see indications that this is going to expand and get out of control. I've told you to go listen to Unirock. I've told you to go listen to Nathan Stoltman of Lift the Veil. And now I'm going to say a little bit more, okay? The first thing I would like to say is something I've said before. VOP, Veterans on Patrol, have done a fine job taking care of vets. I was down at the Detain McCain. Well, what happened was the VOP was having a demonstration. They were down in an area of Phoenix where they were trying to help vets there. And there were a lot of vets right where we were. Along with that, at the time, Pete Santilli had a Detain McCain demonstration. It didn't bring a lot of people. I think we may have had, at the tops, 100 people at this thing. But the point is I ran into these folks, okay? They can help vets. They have no business being out in the desert tromping around looking for the enemy. Somebody innocent. Now, I'm not saying that illegals coming across the border are really innocent of breaking laws, because they're not. They're breaking the law. But they don't deserve to get shot, and a lot of people will say otherwise. But we've seen these people now assume that any evidence of children is evidence of child trafficking, and that's not just bogus. That's evil. That's pure, unadulterated evil. Breaking into houses with the assumption that just because no one's there, that it's child trafficking. What happened? Now I realize they're not law enforcement officers, but what happened to the concept of guilty or innocent until proven guilty? Getting a warrant before you go into a place, you have suspicions. I said the other day that their tactics are asinine. That if they really thought they found a child trafficking camp, you don't tromp through it and disturb it. You back off and you wait for the people to come back. As an example. Yeah, you can patrol around looking for things, I suppose, but not if you don't know what you're doing, especially when you don't know who your enemy is, and that's pretty obvious in this situation. So, why aren't they? Well, they just need to go back to helping vets. Now, some people say, oh, well, there are combat vets that are coming down there now, and there's oath keepers and all this. Let me tell you a little story, okay? Even Craig Sawyer said this, which really bothered me. But now I'm hearing it from, and I hate to bring this up, but this is really a disease. Because I'm seeing it across so many conservative YouTube sites and organizations. Oh, the child trafficking thing is so terrible. We got to get down to this corridor, or these corridors in Arizona. They're actually all across the border. As a matter of fact, they're not even in the worst one, okay? But regardless, we've got to get down there. We've heard Stuart Rhodes say that of Oath Keepers. We've heard other people. I bring that one up because that's one that a lot of people recognize. Craig Sawyer said this as well. These are the words. This is a rape tree. I know Uni says not to say that because they'll censor you, but I got to get this message out. This is a rape tree like many others we've found throughout the Southwest. The people who are down here, oath keepers that patrol the desert and border people that patrol the desert, we've found these rape trees all around the Southwest. Really? My question is, then why is this one different? Why are you acting so busy, so desperate on this one? Especially since all the other evidence pretty well proves that thing hasn't been used for that. And that's assuming that they even know what a rape tree really is. Oh, Roy, they've been down there and they know them. Well, I've been down there and I've seen those exact same things used for what I've talked about before. Could they have double uses? I suppose. Hell, you can use a screwdriver to screw a screw or screw a screw or kill somebody. So I suppose. But the point is everything that they see is evidence of what they're trying to do. Uni's got it right. Okay? There's something else going on here. This is an operation above and beyond the vets on patrol and above and beyond Oath Keepers and everybody else. This is an effort, as I warned about the other day, to get something really bad to happen in this area. And I'm not prepared right now to say what that is, but for anybody with a brain, you can see what's going to happen here. Can you just picture this? And it's already happened to some extent. Some accusations against people that have been roaming the area there, farmers, etc. You're coming along and you see a group and they're hauling children behind them, and you go and attack them, and these people go to protect their kids. And they fight back, and now all of a sudden they become, cartel members that are actually trying to traffic these kids, and a nasty, violent occurrence happens. And that's on the low end. The other end is that this Meyer guy has already said that he was going to do an armed standoff on the water tower, or whatever tower that was. Based on what? Now you might say, well, Roy, what about Bundy Ranch? Bundy Ranch was nothing like this. We saw federal goons come in and threaten to do to the Bundys what we saw happen at Waco. Okay? They were protecting their property, their lives, their rights to pursue happiness, etc. And the government using bogus, and I'll call it that, oh, this has been settled by the courts. Yeah. Well, how come you say that the courts are corrupt when we're talking about Trump needing help and he can't prosecute these instigators, but all of a sudden the courts are okay in the Bundy case? No. If you understand the whole situation there, you know what was happening. And we went there to document and to stand so that if they were going to kill the Bundys, they'd have to kill the rest of us. All right? This thing in Tucson is not that. Yes, I know there are people there. I did a documentary in 2011. I interviewed ranchers who felt threatened by the cartels in particular, who do the child trafficking by and large, and the drugs, of course. And they are fearful, and they do need to be protected. But it's not the government doing it. And we have government agents that, yes, are probably compromised. Let's point that out. But what I see happening here is that this is going to be used, ultimately, to cause a violent breakout between law enforcement and this entire operation, this VOP. Like I said, they were great at their veterans' help, but they've gone too far. I heard Stuart Rhodes say that they're depending upon a couple of their members who are in Arizona to give them the briefings on what's going on and explaining the evidence. After the Bundy Ranch standoff, I got a call, and it was from Pete Santilli, who also had Assemblywoman Michelle Fiore on the phone. It was a three-way call. And what it involved was that Stuart Rhodes had pulled all of his Oath Keepers away from the camp outside of the Bundy Ranch because a supposed good source, intelligence source in the Oath Keepers in Texas, I believe, is where he was at the time. Not Stuart Rhodes, but this supposed Oath Keepers intelligence source had said that President Obama was going to drone the Bundy Ranch, make a drone strike on the Bundy Ranch. And this was apparently supposedly gotten over some really good, people that really knew what was going on. Well, I don't think I'd dispute the fact that that wasn't probably discussed, but the intelligence source was incorrect. Okay? What it did do was it incited more problems by making that statement. So I won't tell you what we talked about in any detail, but I told Michelle Fiore that since she had been notified of that she should go ahead and notify then Governor Sandoval and let him make the decision about what to do about it. Okay? Do you see how that could have gotten out of control? Yeah. But the important thing there is that when the heat was getting hot, in reality or not, the Oath Keepers tucked and ran. Stuart Rhodes told them to pack up and get off the X. They shouldn't have been there doing that in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. Bundy had his own security. What I'm saying here is that things are not always as they appear, and I'm not sure of the motivations of those who were involved in this. When you look at their histories and what they've done, people say, well, what about your history, Roy? Hey, I had a personal life, okay? I wasn't out there robbing people, dealing drugs, beating my wife. You know what I'm saying? And my whole issue was to get the government out of private lives. They don't have any business telling people who they can and who they can't have associations with, sexual or otherwise. That was the issue. It wasn't about trying to hide that I had, gone and robbed a bank or dealt drugs or whatever, But a lot of these people that you're seeing have done that or other things. We're throwing our hats in with the wrong group, is what I'm saying. We need to, if you want to do something and make it work, okay, we need to get behind Trump. Isn't it interesting? Yeah, okay, I'm still critical of Trump. That's a political action. It's not that I'm trying to hurt him, okay? Now, here's the deal. I told you that this thing in Tucson was a diversion. If you don't believe me, look at what you're looking at. You're watching the thing in Tucson. Are you aware that there were 160 children freed in Atlanta, Georgia from a child trafficking group? And it wasn't the VOP that did it. It was the local police, law enforcement. And there are other examples of that around. How many has VOP found? 0. And the way they're conducting their operations, they're going to be harassing good people like that rancher, that farmer the other day. Or, and I'm not saying that the illegals should be crossing through the desert, I'm not saying that. But they're going to, with all the assumptions they make, somebody's going to get hurt. And then there's going to be a standoff. And it's going to be a major mini war. Over what? A guy's illusions and delusions of grandeur. You want to help, I never actually, well, I can't say that. Actually, I did run into cartel members in Nogales. I did. I probably saw some throughout the rest of my search of the southern border during my documentary in 2011. But And yeah, there were indications of that. But they're not stupid, okay? They have lookouts and things like that because they know how to operate. And it's obvious that VOP doesn't know how to operate. Okay, this is not going to go well. I laud the courage and the sacrifice of those who think they're doing the right thing. I do. But you're going to have to get your aggressiveness checked at the door. And you're going to have to become observers if you want to help. And you better not become militarily engaged with anybody or engaged like law enforcement. See and report. But that's not what's going to happen here in the long run. Watch, and you'll see. I saw I really, I appreciate some of the YouTube investigators and reporters, actually all of them for the most part. But I want to point something out. I'm going to do it this way. If you go to if you're driving down the road and you see somebody that has a rainbow picture in their home or on their window or something like that as a piece of art, what are you going to think? Are you going to think, well, that's a nice rainbow, or are you going to think that they're LGBT? Okay? If you go into a person's house and they have Egyptian art, pyramids, are you going to think they're Illuminati merely because of that? And more importantly, what came first? The rainbow and the pyramids as the symbols that we would normally think of them as. The rainbow, the covenant, and the colors and how pretty it is. The pyramids as, hey, that's a really cool thing in Egypt. Do we think of them as that, or do we think of them immediately as occultic symbols? How do we apply it? And which came first? Were they architectural or art type things? Was that how they were viewed first? Or was it the occult thing? What was it, the chicken or the egg? All of the symbols used by the pedophile groups have been used for other things, and they've usurped those symbols for themselves, just like the LGBT did with the rainbow and the Illuminati did with the pyramid. Do you see where I'm going with this? Just because you see a symbol that looks like a pedophile symbol doesn't mean it is. I pointed out when all this started that I'm aware of the problems in the Tucson government, in the upper echelons of the law enforcement community, and in the politicians and in the corporations. I said that. We've talked about the connections of CMEX and other things. But that's not an excuse to go forward and act in a violent way until if at all. We've got to leave that to the right people. But the evidence is still not there. I saw this YouTuber who had, a couple of them actually had pictures of what looked like the pizza thing on a gated community, on another community, on organization heads and things like that. Kind of like the situation with the LA County Sheriff, I think it is. Some of these are nothing more than symbols. Do you investigate? Maybe. But you better not jump to the conclusion that it is what you want it to be. It might just be that the people thought it was a nice design. I've spent a lot of time in Tucson, Arizona. Okay? I know the problems there. Are there individuals and groups of individuals that are doing nefarious, underhanded, criminal, corrupt, inhumane things there throughout the years? Yes, but it's like I said a few minutes ago. Why the jump now when supposedly we've known about these things in this area for how many years? Because now, it's gotten some momentum, where it's got some money behind it, where it's got some political clout. Well, it really doesn't have any political clout yet. Quite the opposite. No, all the indications here are that this is a honeypot, a honey trap. It's all there. All of it. As I pointed out, the actions in the last video, I think it was a short one, the actions that are occurring in Tucson now, in the manner in which they're being conducted, will be a black eye for Trump. And you're going to force him, if he understands what's going on here, he's going to be forced to act against what's happening in Tucson. It's actually, they put him in a no-win situation here. He's a smart guy. He'll probably figure something out if he even gets down that far down the rabbit hole. But if he does something and tells these people that he's going to have law enforcement handle it, what have they already said? They don't trust law enforcement. They'll put up their armed readouts. So in other words, the idea is to fight the government because the government's corrupt. Well, I don't disagree. The government is corrupt. I agree with that. But and sometimes the citizens that's the wrong term. The American people have to stand up. But this one has all the trappings of a disaster. So it's going to be used against Trump no matter how it plays out now. That's the real issue. And it's going to be used against veterans in the end. And it's going to be used against anybody who stands against illegal immigration. That's where it's going to go. Because they're approaching it in entirely the wrong way. Okay. You can take it or leave it the way you want. By the way, I started blocking people. I've watched Uni, he just says, I'm not going to put up with your nonsense. I'm just going to block you. The chat's on, and I don't know if there are a couple of people I've already blocked, not so much here, but in some other areas. Yeah, Bobby Joe, I really don't look at my comments mostly. When I do, it's by accident. The only place I really interact with you is here. If I started reading my comments, and I only did it there because on this last video I did a few days ago was because somebody asked me to look at something that was more appropriate for me to do that. Frankly, I love all the people. I appreciate all the people that come there and say thanks, Roy, for doing the best you can, whatever. I appreciate that, or pointing out information. But I'm really not interested in getting into an argument with most of those people that really don't know anything. And trolls, you always have them. So what I'm saying is that I probably won't go and look up your comment. If you can't tell me here, I'm probably not going to do it. The whole thing with the denuclearization of North Korea. Look, who has violated in the history of this country, in our treaties and in our agreements, who has violated those treaties and agreements? We shook hands with Gaddafi. We shook hands with Saddam Hussein. And then we turned around and we killed them and their people. No, we're the ones that can't be trusted. And I hope that changes with Trump. But he's one man out of an entire military, industrial, security, intelligence, deep state complex tied to the New World Order and the destruction of mankind. One guy. And of course, there are questions even about him, which I've talked about in the past. But we have to look at the political situation that we find ourselves in and try to approach it from a realistic point of view. And I do think overall that Trump's trying to do the right thing. That they wouldn't be acting against him the way they do if he was entirely on their side. And I've admitted that he could be part of another group that just wants power. I know, but it's almost like that would be preferable. If Trump is showing what that group would be like, that would be the way to go. And we can iron out the little details later. No, he's the real deal. And he's going to be in even more danger if this thing with Putin proceeds and they plan a meeting, in the fall, like I'm hearing that they will. So you can go down the rabbit hole of Trump's a bad guy and he's setting us up. And I've talked about those things because we have to be wary of them. But I've also given caveats as to why we really have no other choice. Oh, yeah, there's always God. But God didn't save the 200 million people that were killed in the 20th century. And I'm sure a lot of them were begging for their lives, asking God to spare them. You might say that's a lack of faith. No, that's reality. There's more to it than that. There's more to it than just praying and thinking it's going to happen. Oh, you lack faith. Well, that horse died a long time ago. Not my faith, I mean, but that argument. Yeah, that's a good point, Harrison F., that Syria and Russia are warning about another gas attack. Yeah, of course. And we'll see. If Trump reacts in the same way, whoa, not good. See, then everything he's done with North Korea and the good there, if he goes along with his IC again, believing their lies and all that, that will be a great disappointment. Well, what he needs to do, in my estimation, is he needs to go after, ISIS. He needs to go after Daesh. He needs to go after the people in the IC, the CIA, etc., even the FBI that are fomenting this baloney. That's where if there's a place where my confidence in Trump breaks down, that's it. What's going on in the Middle East, and what's going on with his refusal to, or his inability to handle the DOJ and the CIA here in this country and the FBI. That those are troubling, but I give him a pass on that, depending upon how all this turns out. If it's not going to be too late, but I do worry about the 5G panopticon, and I do worry that we're giving too much credit to the Israelis and the Saudis. I do worry about that. Yeah, Darlin Dar, Trump is in massive danger now for sure, praying for safety and safe return back home. Absolutely. I will say a prayer to that as well. I pray to God that he will protect President Trump and his family and all those with him from the evils that want to destroy him and to destroy our constitutional republic and indeed enslave all mankind, if not destroy all of us. I do pray for his safety. Trump is one man. Come on. Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, guys. There's always one. Look at Wallace. Did you ever go see Braveheart? One man, Wallace, was able to finally stir the people up to do something. Yeah, he's just one man, but we can rally around that. We can. Trump and Putin be like Batman and Robin. Paul Guerra. That's a good one. I like that. Tony Barbera, Third Temple on the way, folks. Get ready for NWO going into overdrive. I am very suspicious of the whole concept of Third Temple, too. If any of you have read my book, The Crimson Thread, you'll know why. And what's the point of the temple if they don't have the Ark of the Covenant to put in it? I've already talked about that. Okay, again, I'm going to talk about people that send me notices on YouTube. I'm not going to open up your attachments. I'm not going to look at I'm not going to go in the messages and go through all that. I just don't do that anymore. I'm sorry, I just don't. A lot of you are great, great people. You really, really are. But I've got to admit that most of my experiences when I have violated my own concerns and made contact with people who apparently are decent folks on YouTube. When I've met them, it's turned into a disaster, frankly. And I don't mean that, they get nasty to me or whatever, although that's happened too. But what I've seen is, well, I don't want to get into the particulars, but I just will not meet anybody from YouTube anymore. That's not going to happen. If there's ever a conference or whatever, that I'm invited to talk to, because I'm not going to go looking for it. I have some friends that want to set, a talk circuit up. Why I don't know. I do know, but they want to do that. But unless I was invited somewhere, I probably wouldn't. And even if I were invited, dream on, Potter, right? It's already happened. I've already been invited several places. One I should have done, but most of the others I don't know about. As a matter of fact, I would, my better judgment would say not to get involved with those people, because it's really not cut and dry. Just because somebody says they're a conservative and they believe in the Constitution and they believe in God and all that, doesn't mean they're not snakes. And there are a lot of them out there. So anyway, there's I forget what it's called, but I guess there's a meeting sometime in June here. It might even be going on right now, up in Boise or Montana or somewhere, where all the, folks like us get together and you have speakers and all of that. I was asked to go there, and I thought about it, not to speak, but just to attend. But you know what? My circle of acquaintances and friends is really getting smaller, because there are just too many people out there you can't trust. There really is. The only safe group is a prayer group. By and large, that's true. By and large, that's true. That's really true. Okay. Edelson James, are you friends with BP Earthwatch and Steve Motley? I have a lot of respect for both those guys as far as the information they put out. But we haven't communicated since their little blow up, and it was a blow up between those two back in, what was it, February, March, somewhere back there. And I don't even know what they're saying about me, because I really don't care. I saw what happened there, and I don't. That's what I mean. I'm just not interested in that kind of behavior. I'm just not. They find fault with me for my Q stance. Well, tough luck. But I don't know what they're saying about me, and it really doesn't matter, because I make my judgments based upon evidence and upon what happens on the ground. And I wish them all the best, and I hope that they're successful in what they do. Obviously, BP Earthwatch is. I guess the breakup kind of hurt Steve Motley there in some ways, financially maybe, whatever, I don't know. I just wish them the best of luck, but I will never ever ally myself with people like that again. Like I said, I'll go. It's like this thing with Unirock and Nathan. Nathan was really hard on me. Well, Uni was too at one time as well, and based upon what they thought was evidence that would justify it, but. And I can understand that, but when people get to know you, you expect them to act a little differently. And Uni and Nathan, I haven't really talked to Nathan. I have to Uni Rock, and he's a combat vet. He bled for you overseas. I can trust a guy like that. He might be mistaken on a few things, but he doesn't have an evil heart to try to hurt others. That's not his motivation. It's not that he's so right and everybody else is so wrong. He's willing to discuss and look at things. But a lot of people in our supposed conservative patriot community are not that way, and they're demagogues and dogmatic pricks, frankly. I'm not talking about the multitude of the people that are coming to my channel. Most of you are wonderful Americans, or if you're overseas, and I know there's some, which really surprised me. I have some viewers from foreign countries, and I know I don't mean to make these blanket statements. I just want you to know that it's not what it. It's just very disappointing when you see how people really are. And I was in law enforcement, the military, and all this stuff. I've dealt with people for years and years, and I have been too idealistic. I trust people too damn fast. Not so much in my professional career, although I've done it there too. But man, it's sad. It really is. There's an old saying, a man who has one or two, a handful of friends. I forget exactly how it goes. A man who has one or two friends or a handful of friends is blessed and fortunate. A man who has many friends is a fool. And there's so much truth to that. It's just unbelievable how true that is. It's really true. Yeah, the gift of discernment is everything, and I've had that. I actually have a pretty good gift there, but I still give people the benefit of the doubt probably more often than I should. That's why I say I'm just going to go ahead and block people. I'm not going to put up like P-51 Mustang. Next time he shows up, I'm blocking him if I haven't done it already. There are others too. And as a matter of fact, somebody sent me a message that they saw concerning me on Twitter where this guy was, I guess it's a guy, was addressing me. And I looked at the name. I won't tell you what it is, but I looked at the name, and I know Hebrew, and I know Yiddish is kind of a German adaptation. Anyway, it's kind of like ghetto language, kind of stuff. And I saw this name, and I thought, what the hell? And they said, well, this guy is bad mouthing you. You need to address him, because like I said, I don't read my comments anymore. I just don't bother. But I looked at the name and I said, well, he's nothing at all anyway. Why would I address nothing at all? I don't even know if he knows his name means nothing at all. That's what it means. So no, I'm not going to bother. I just will block them. They're just not worth your time or your anxiety. Let's see what else we got here. Matthew Hill. Like the old saying, I trust no one, but I have a plan to kill everyone. Some of you are great. I gotta admit, and I see a lot of those kinds of things. During these live streams, it's really hilarious. I get ban the trolls. Yeah, I agree. I've been too long suffering there because I wanted people to see the opposite side and how they act and what they're doing to us and all that. So it was kind of like a revelation, opening, pulling the curtain back, seeing who's who. I mean, people. I've had situations where people have treated me very, very well. And then when I let them too close, I find out what their real motivations are, and they're not good. They're nefarious. And, so you can get fooled. But, I've been too nice. I let people get away with stuff. And no, I'm not going to do it anymore. I had a blocking party. Oh, what was it? About 2 months ago. I had enough. I got fed up with people. But I do realize that all they do is they go and they start another site or another name and they come back. But regardless, I guess it's the fact that you're telling them that they're not welcome, and so I'll do that. I guess I could go to YouTube and Twitter and those places and do other things, but I'm not going to take it that far probably. So I'll start banning trolls, okay? And Uni told me, and other people have told me that over the years, and then Uni really, really got on me here about 2 weeks ago. He said, right, you need to ban those people. So I said, yeah, I guess so. So we're going to do that. We're going to start banning. If I see some nasty stuff, people saying bad things about each other here or making attacks, let me see if I can do that here. I think I can. Let me just choose one here and take a look. Yep. So I will do it here even. Okay, so you can look forward to that. I'm not going to put up with that nonsense anymore. Okay, I think we've done enough today. We look forward to this week as being a big week for revelations on the deep state and Trump being able to address it, and then the FBI agents cowered out, want immunity. DOJ and FBI are still, as I said at the beginning, are still not cooperating yet. You refuse to do that, and they throw you in jail. And these officials should be the first ones. The standards they are held to should be higher than us as American people, and they should be thrown in jail immediately with absolutely no remorse, no hesitation. But the dirty bastards, they take care of each other because they're criminals. Honor amongst thieves, until then they get in trouble, and then of course it's a little different. But they're not to be trusted, and it's really disgusting that they've done to the American people, gone after ranchers and after marijuana. What the hell is wrong with Sessions? He's got these major problems with violations of the First Amendment, antitrust, attacks on the Second Amendment, all this stuff, and he's worried about a weed that grows everywhere. Why do you think they call it weed? And I have nothing to do with marijuana, but it's asinine. And he's more concerned about that than he is about the Bill of Rights being violated. The guy's a turd. Oh, he's working behind the scenes. Well, if he is, he's not doing enough of it. Okay. Yeah, I get tired of hearing the excuses for him. But at any rate, so I think we're done today. I know I kind of rambled a little bit, gave you my feelings on some things, but I'm going to echo something that UniRock says. If you have people that you want to donate to help stop child trafficking and all that, if you don't trust Craig Sawyer, Matt Bracken and Craig Sawyer are friends. I don't know if you know who Matt Bracken is, but what Craig's doing is very, very hard. Somebody was saying there's somebody out there claiming he was dishonorably discharged. I'd like to see the evidence for that because I don't believe it exists. I don't believe that Matt Bracken would be his friend if that were the case. Okay? I just don't believe that. People, there was somebody who attacked, I forget the circumstances now. I think it was David Seaman. Somebody said that he's actually a multimillionaire and that he's bilking the public and he's doing all this stuff. I don't care if you like David Seaman or not. The point was he was attacked, and the dumb people that did this supposed dox on him got a soccer player out of Britain. That's the guy that they found, not David Seaman, who lives in D.C. And they ran with it, and they do that kind of stuff all the time. They need to be sued. Okay, so I think we're done. Thanks everybody for coming. We haven't done a whole lot. I'll share a joint with you, Roy. That stuff makes me sick. When I was a cop, I ran into it a couple times in the military. Busted some people, which there in the military, I think it's justified under the circumstances. It's like drinking on duty or that kind of thing. I actually fired an Irish major for drinking on duty because he was carrying a weapon while he was drinking. But at any rate, I don't care for tobacco or any of that stuff anyway. Vaping, I don't mind that so much. I don't do it, but I don't mind that so much. But marijuana is so thick, and as a police officer, I remember going to several places where it was just so thick you could cut it with a knife, and it just gagged me. I know you can take pills and stuff like that. CBD oil is probably great stuff, because I know there are healing qualities to the CBD. I know that. I think that's what it's called, cannabinol. I know that there are some really healing properties to it. I do believe that, which is why they banned it in the first place, right? It was all a thing. As a matter of fact, they blamed that. Mexicans in the 30s when the pharmaceutical companies were trying to get power. And most of you probably know this. Marijuana. It's surprising aspirin wasn't controlled. Things like that. But marijuana, of course, was it grew everywhere. So people were using it. So they said, Mexicans use it and they rape and kill women. Yeah, right. When you're on marijuana, you do something like that. Well, I don't know anybody on marijuana who ever has an idea of something like that. It just doesn't work like that. But that's what you hear is all this disinformation and baloney. Is it a gateway drug? Well, hell, alcohol is a gateway drug. So Sessions is barking down the wrong road again. You know, the guy is in the Stone Age. Okay, yeah, we're done. Thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate it. Hopefully, the update was worth listening to. Be careful. I'm not telling you whether you should or should not donate to the organization of your choice, but considering the fact that old Meyer is not a veteran in the first place and hasn't filed the paperwork, what's happening there with the resources that he's getting, you're always going to take a chance when you give money to an organization. Do your research, find out about it, who they are, all of that. Don't throw your money away. Don't do that. And as Uni says, don't give money to something if you can't pay the bills at the end of the month. They're just trying to guilt you into it. Okay, so take care of yourselves first. God bless you. God bless yours. God bless the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America and the Second American Revolution. Keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground. Keep your situational awareness up. Protect yourselves. Things can always get nasty in a heartbeat. Prep, pray, and stay out of the way, right? God bless Donald Trump in all of his righteous endeavors. And may the Spirit of God descend upon him as the dews from heaven, giving him the spirit of discernment to know the right from the wrong, and above all, to have the courage to do the right thing. I think we'll end it there. I'll go out with a little short deal here. Pam Jones did these things for me, and I don't know if I've got another one here that's new or not. Let me see if I've got a new one here. I'll probably play the same one by accident. Let's try this one. You think I'd know what they are. I guess I need to label them a little better so I know which one's which. So I don't know which one this is, but this is a different one. This is a real short one. You'll like the fact that it's short, okay? All right, guys, we'll see you later. Guys and ladies, we'll see you later.